every time you walk in the door and he's not there. Well, I'm Joy Morrow. I'm a mother of 2 children, stepmother of 2 children. I have 4 grandchildren. I'm a widow of David. We were each other's best friends, so much so that when my husband died, I didn't really have any close friends. We just loved doing things together, the 2 of us, and we did just about everything together. The only thing that I didn't share with him was his great love of basketball, because I am vertically challenged, so I could not play basketball. And the first trip we planned together after we had both retired was to go to Chili's. David wasn't able to do as much as he would have liked. As soon as he got back from that trip, he was scheduled for hip surgery. And I had thought this was the reason he was having trouble with his back, but it was not the case. It turned out right after that that he was diagnosed with ALS. It was a big shock. It was absolutely a big shock, because you have to understand that my husband, although he was in his late 60s, was extremely fit, didn't have an ounce of fat on him, extremely active. He used to bicycle, swim every day for hours a day. He loved exercise. It's one of those things that I guess everyone carries things around they can't get rid of, or don't get rid of. I just couldn't believe it, because he was just the absolute epitome of the most healthy 67 or 8-year-old you could ever meet. He thought there was a time for being born and a time for dying, and that when it was the time for dying, the patient should be able to help make that choice. And so David was able to control his destiny a little better than others. He used to, at the beginning, he would go up to the 3rd floor to his desk to work. But then in the last year, he really wasn't able to manage the stairs. So first he would go on his hands and knees, but after a while he couldn't even, once he got to the top, he couldn't get up, and not even with my help. And I was afraid that we were both gonna tumble backwards down the stairs. We started to reach a point where he knew that he was going to need 24-hour care. And he was very concerned that he might end up in a nursing home or long-term care facility or hospital. He did not want that. He told me a month ahead of time, I'm choosing this day. Some of the reasons for the date were things like, I don't want to die around Christmas time, because I think that would not be a nice memory to have in years to come. I was very sad when he said, that's it, this is it. Now, it was always inchoate up to then. One day, I'm going to make this decision. Now it was, this is the day. And every day ticking down was one less day. I was going to be able to have him beside me and hold his hand. And when your husband has a terminal illness, you do a lot of grieving ahead of time. I can't tell you all the tears I shed on my pillow. Your tendency as a wife is always to say, just one more day. You would do anything for them still to be here. But you know that that's selfish. You're thinking of yourself, you're not thinking of them. So you have to realize that. And ultimately I did, so I did accept. But it's not easy, and anyone who's going through this has to know that. Sometimes if I'm doing something that like my messy office, I say to myself when I go in there and I look at all the piles of mess, I would say, oh, David, I know what you're saying. I still have a hard time doing some things that he loved to do. Every time you do something that you did together and you're doing it yourself, putting up the Christmas tree. Every time you see the grandkids and think of him and playing with them. Every time you walk in the door and he's not there. But I'm not alone, you know. You shouldn't feel sorry for me, because I don't feel sorry for myself. There's lots of people in this world that are widowed, and it's a fact of life. Everybody dies. So I don't feel sorry for myself either, but I sure miss my husband.